it's Whitney, and I want to welcome you to Ladies Takeover Empowerment Podcast, where we're all about helping you to succeed and become the very best version of yourself. So, on tonight, I'm super excited to have some wonderful guests that are going to bless your socks off. So, I hope you're ready for season 7 part 2 of Relationship Edition for none other than Pastor and Lady Roy. Hi, how are you guys
Hey,
doing?
The crowd goes wild.
good, good.
How
I
are you?
love it.
How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Good,
Thank you
good.
guys for joining me on tonight. I'm so honored to have you with me. I know you guys are so busy, so thank you so much.
It's our pleasure.
Yes, it's great being with you.
Awesome. So let's jump right in. Tell everyone your names, a little bit about yourself, your family, how many children you have, how long you've been married, all that jazz.
He's looking at my answers. I am Shanita Roy, born and raised Washington, D.C. Southeast, actually, Washington, D.C. We now reside in Fort Washington,
We
Maryland.
both were
Oh, yeah, we both born and
raised
raised in
deep
Southeast
Southeast
Washington,
Washington.
D.C. We have 3 children, 2 girls, 1 boy, who's in California. And what else? What was it? That's it.
How long have you been married?
Oh yeah, the best part of that. 26 years. It'll be 27 years this
Wow.
year in July.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Beautiful. So, how long have you known each other and how did you guys meet?
You gonna tell the story?
we met. Actually, we met in college,
Yes. UDC.
UDC actually, and so we met there. So we knew each other. What, about 3 years before we got
Yeah,
married?
about 2 or 3. Yeah, 2 or 3 years.
And so we met there. It was actually because of I had a female group that I was working with, and somebody told me that she could
His
sing,
god sister or
yeah,
whatever.
cousin, whatever,
Right.
distance
Who was
cousin.
actually a good friend of mine. We were going to school together and she knew him.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, told me
Okay.
about her, and so we invited her to a rehearsal and everything, and we started talking after that, and it just was something from the initial conversation. I think she had got sick one time, and
Right.
I called to check on her because she didn't make it to rehearsal.
And 3 hours
Look at
later.
you. Look at you.
Right.
Being flu.
Right. I was
Hmm.
that you remember that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got sick and he called to check on me. We were on the phone for about 3 hours after that. And it just kind of blossomed from there. It kind of grew from there.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So, at that early stage, what did you say it was a gospel group?
It
Yeah,
was.
it
Mhm.
was.
So, was God in the center of this relationship that early on?
No,
What you mean,
Okay.
no?
it wasn't. I mean,
I mean, weren't you saved?
we were saved, but I
Okay,
wasn't seeking God for a mate, at the time.
but that's not what she said.
I was just saying it was that early on. It wasn't that early on. We had to court and we had to get to know
But
each
God
other.
was the center of the
Okay,
relationship.
sure.
He was the
Tell the
center.
truth.
Shame the
Tell the
devil, right?
truth, Lady Roy. Exactly. Tell the truth, shame the devil. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, my husband, he may have been seeking for me, but I sure enough wasn't seeking him. And Jesus wasn't nowhere in the middle.
Right. We were friends and we were getting to know each other, but he was very different from what I was used to. And I was intrigued. I was curious to find out a little more about this guy from Southeast DC. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, what intrigued you about him?
He could have a clear conversation. He was smart and he was ambitious. He had a planned out future. And he was just I was used to street guys. So, he wasn't a street guy per se. he was kind of a street guy, but he was a good street guy, if that makes sense. He wasn't out on the corners and, you know, things of that nature. And I never really dated anyone that was in church. Lord forgive me. So he was really my first guy that was saved. And so it was really something that I know I needed, and I just didn't know what that was going to look like. So that's what I was curious about. Like, okay, how does it feel like dating a saved guy? And he was still giving me a little thug, but he was talking about Jesus. So it was just like, okay, I like this guy. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. How did you feel about her, Pastor?
I thought she was really, really beautiful. And I looked at the fact that she came from good stock, meaning that she her mom was a pastor or in church and a minister. So I felt like she wouldn't be too far from that, even though, you know, I know she was a little rough around the edges, but I looked at her background and thought that would, you know, she wouldn't be too far from that, you know, and as I got to know her, but I really enjoyed our conversation, our initial conversation when she wasn't feeling too well, getting to know a little bit more about her and the fact that she just was beautiful as well. And so that was something that just kind of pulled me in.
That was the most important part, huh?
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, that was the start. You know, she had to be a looker.
Easy on the eyes.
And I was just
I
praying
understand.
the conversation would fit the face.
I completely understand. Which brings me to this point. Let's talk about communication. You said you talked for 3 hours. How important is communication still in your marriage? 27 years later, how important is it still?
It's for me is very important. That's kind of how we started
Right.
our relationship, and even as we were, you know, preparing for marriage after we decided to go that route, it was really about communication. And I believe one of the questions I asked her was was she willing to change, and we talked about what that meant, like, you know, and I had to buy into that myself, being willing to change, not to really try to conform someone to your way, but are you willing to change? And so that was really, I think that was for me it was a make or break for me, you know, her response to that, you know, just to know that, hey, we are growing, and so are you willing to, you know, change and make changes in your life to make this relationship work as I am, you know? And so that was something that we really talked about first on, so we can always bring it back to one another as we go in a relationship. And so even now, almost 27 years later, it is very vital, very key.
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the reasons we are able to get along so well, because not just because, you know, looks okay, yeah, that's great, but if there's no real good conversation for me, I'm a little lost there. So for us, conversation, and we need it because there are things we need to do now.
Yeah.
We've combined incomes, we have bills together, and so it is very vital that we communicate, and not in retrospect, not, you know, after the fact, you know, but actually conversation, having some conversing about things that we know that we desire to do with our lives, you know, and how we gonna get there, you know, and making plans and things like that. And so I think that is very important, because when you ask questions, you know, you get to find out some stuff, you know, especially when it comes to certain things concerning our lives and our livelihood.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Communication is vital. It really is. And I concur, amen to everything that my husband said. But it's really now, even that wasn't always my testimony. I'm one who held things in. I didn't always talk right away. And when it was time to speak or speak on something, it was explosive. And so I had to redirect um that energy and that anger or whatever it was, and not pile it all up on him at one time. I'm like, yeah, a month ago you did this, and remember you did that 6 months. You're like, wait a minute, you didn't say it. Like, I didn't know. And so as we got older and more seasoned in our relationship, it's fluid now. It's like second nature for us to communicate in our home, even in public, and be effective in our communicating, and don't allow it to pile up like dirty laundry and cause a stink and a funk in the home. So it's a part of who we are, and we absolutely are on one accord. That is very, very, very important, almost top
Yes.
tier in the marriage.
And
Yeah.
I would like to add to that, because personal growth with the Lord really makes it greater, because we can try to conform to certain things because of our spouse, but those things don't really last. You do it, but when you can do it and be the same way with everybody,
Right.
because God has changed your life, and so it's not just something that I do with my wife or she does with me. It's a total change. And I can say that, as many times I tried to force change on her, or, keep bringing this up and bring that up, once, you just sit back, and I just started praying, and she started to get more involved in the things of God, and you can see from that things were starting to change, because her perspective was a lot different, and God was doing the changing.
That's powerful because you said you weren't always there, and then as you develop in God, that things get better. And
Right.
I know that with my husband and I, that we don't always see eye to eye on many things times,
Right.
because we come from two I don't even know how you want to say it, but like two different neighborhoods. I don't two different places. We both ain't from Southeast. I'm from Montgomery County. He's from
Oh,
Southeast.
ah,
We come from two different neck
under,
of the woods.
understood. Understood.
So it's completely different in our household how we view a lot of things in life. But when it comes to God, that's where we find our synergy. That's where we mix. That's what brings us together in our household. And so it's
Right.
so important, it's so vital for us. That was actually what brought us together over anything else, was God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for you all, talk to everyone who's listening and watching about how do you incorporate the communication and being on the same page now, because initially ministry wasn't on the table. So what did that transition look like? Because that's not an easy task to start in your marriage, not having ministry, not being involved in ministry, to then be in ministry, unless you guys were in ministry from the very beginning
Kind of, sort of.
together.
Well, I was.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we've been in ministry together.
I was a minister.
Right. But we've been in ministry. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it
Yeah,
as,
yeah. So
I mean, we were always very active. I've always been active in ministry. He's always been active in ministry.
she just had a different take on her walk with Jesus.
That is natural. What? I discussed 2 weeks ago.
No, I'm just saying, I married.
I mean,
And as we were getting married, you had a certain mindset, a certain thing that you thought marriage should look like, and what you wanted, that just didn't materialize.
like what?
Our
I'm just saying.
finances, for
Oh.
one.
Talking about money. He stay
But-
on money, child.
Yeah.
It's important.
It
Right,
is.
you know.
It is.
And so, I'm.
So what was it? Money, your money was your money, and his money was your money.
No, we never did that.
No, we didn't.
And I'm glad we
Okay.
didn't.
We didn't start out like that.
Because that's something I didn't want to. Now it was threatened to be your money, and my money. But the threats came up. But we never went that
We
route.
never went that route. I just like to spend a little more than he does.
Yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
And so
A
it
lot
in the
more
Gotcha.
than he
beginning of our
does.
marriage, it was a strain on us because uh I mean, to be honest, I was still in school
Mm-hmm.
when we got married.
Yeah.
Ah.
I didn't really think I was ready to do it financially,
Mm-hmm.
but she was like, "No, we're gonna do this. I got you." And I'm like, "Listen, you used to something. And when we get to this, that means we're gonna have to kind of live differently." And she's like, "I got
Mm-hmm.
you. I got you."
Yeah, the
And
conversation was like, "Oh yeah, I can do this," and then reality set in.
yeah, and it was
Beans
rough.
and rice, not technically
Yeah.
beans and rice,
I
but
know what you're
a
saying.
whole
Mm-hmm.
scale back of a lifestyle that you are used to. And when that reality set in, I was like, "Wait a minute, yeah,
And
who
I
said
think
this?"
this was the conversation part of it, right?
Mhm.
Because I said that I was more of the talker in
Yes, he
the
was.
relationship. It was a little different. I wasn't expecting that. I thought that she probably would be, but I was more of the talker. And when we got into our little situation where it was just like really really rough because I was still trying to finish school. I was working part time and working during the summer. Wasn't really bringing a lot of money in.
Mhm.
She was making more money than I was. And I said, listen, if you want me to, because it was getting rough.
He was.
I had to speak to her about my plan again. This is my plan. But if you want me to, I can quit school and go working full time if this is what you want. But that's not my plan. And I laid out my plan again for her. And she was like, no, okay. No, finish school. We're going to do it your way.
I didn't quite say it like
Yeah, she
that.
didn't say it like
I
that.
probably was like, "Baby, go." Like it was more confident in my response.
Oh, you saying that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I trusted.
But the actions were still kind of
Yeah,
on the
it
rails.
was, and even with having a little bit of money, he's still very frugal. So that, and I think that's helped us a lot in
That's
our
good.
marriage. Yeah, yeah, some balance because I'm
Gotta
like,
save
"Oh no,
money.
that's fine." He's like, "No, babe, let's put some money away." I'm like, oh, "Okay." So I'm he's
Mm-hmm.
conformed me a little bit, somewhat in different places. My perspective on our future is different. On our family is different. How we should live is different. So yeah, I mean, they do say opposites attract, and that
Yeah.
part of us being opposites
And,
definitely.
and even today, we still have our spats with that every now and then,
Hmm.
because certain things, that I desire, and we just try to convey as much as we can what we want,
Right.
or what we desire. And if it's not hurting me and she desires it, why not go ahead there and
Hmm.
vice
I know
versa,
that's right. I know
you know?
that's right. That's good. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's beautiful. So when it comes to here's where I was going with my question. Um I really understand because my husband was always in ministry. When I met him, he was a
Hmm.
minister, and I loved the Lord. My parents were pastors,
Yep.
so I always I always was singing and doing
Born
all
and
those
raised
things.
in
I
church.
always yeah, I was always in church. So when we had that conversation, I don't think that I was like no, no, no. I
Hmm.
understood that being married and what that would look like, but I don't think that in my mind's eye that I was thinking, okay, one day we both would be pastors, or
Mm,
that my role would be so intricately involved, or and what that would look like,
Right.
because like being a first lady and all of
yes.
those things, like you're the pastor, I'm over here, I love the Lord, and I
Hmm.
just sing, was more of what my expectations in my role was.
Right. Right. Right.
So when it all came together and I had a little bit more Jesus responsibility and Holy Ghost responsibility, he and I didn't always see eye to eye. And I would be
Got
like,
it.
wait a
Got
minute, don't tell me how I'm supposed to be
right.
saved. Jesus is supposed to convict me of my savedness.
Right. 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 Saving this.
So I'm what I'm asking is, I'm not saying this is your story,
No.
but
No. No.
I'm
Right. Right. Right.
asking, how did you guys because I know that just recently you had a transition with becoming the senior pastor over
Mhm.
your parents' ministry. So, what did that look like, and how did becoming pastor and senior pastor and first lady, like, what did that look like for you guys?
We had somewhat time to prepare. Um, my husband's always been and probably not something that he would have wanted, but he's always been a forefront leader in our ministry. And of course, with the pastor at the time being my mother, I just, it almost didn't feel like a differentiation between the two once he transitioned over. I knew his life and his schedule, our schedule, would be a lot more busier. And that has actually happened. But I've always been, I don't want to say team player, but team player when it came to ministry. I know how important it is to him. And I've grown to understand the importance of ministry. I grew up, my grandfather, my mom. So we had conversations about structure and or importance, family first, and things of that nature. And he's, even before pastoring, he always placed us first on top of the list. Anything, check it, something came through, a date, babe, what do we got going on? Do we have anything with the family going on? Or, and dates he would not accept if we had plans. And so I've
That's
always
awesome.
honored that part of his walk and his responsibilities as a pastor. But I always understood ministry, and we grew up in church, so we saw a lot, experienced a lot.
I didn't grow up in
Yeah.
church.
Right. So a lot of things didn't phase me. I wasn't moved by a whole lot of things, and I'm almost never really surprised by a lot. And so when he
Mm-hmm.
took on the role of pastor, I was like, can I just be your wife? I just want to be your wife. Like, I just want to be your wife. And when people started
Mm-hmm.
saying first lady, I literally cringed. Like the first year, I was like, ugh. I couldn't. It just did not, like, my skin crawled, and
I
not
understand.
nothing against the title that we've created for the wives of the pastors. But I knew what that responsibility would look
Exactly.
like,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
every day, every week, every Sunday, every call, every something, it's me having to really put a step forward. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we work it out as a team, I believe.
Yeah, it's
That's
quite
great.
different. It's quite different, for us as a family.
Hmm.
It didn't seem like it's not too much different
Right.
because of how long we've been doing what we do.
Right.
And my priority is my family.
Yeah.
That's for me. I'm no good to nobody if I'm no good to my family. So
Come
um,
on.
Mhm.
that's my stickler. Uh, that's how I've always been. And even with our girls, that was
Girls,
my
we talk
one thing I
daughters.
asked them. How did they feel about it? They just, and their main thing was,
Is anything gonna
as
change?
far as the time, will I still have time for them? And I said,
That's
I'm fine.
beautiful.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
still make time for you all, and we're still gonna do what we do,
Right.
And so being in school and starting my first year
Yeah,
pastoring,
because while he was pastoring, he went back for his master's.
yeah,
So it was a
Ah.
lot of.
before I started
Oh yeah,
pastoring.
right before. Yeah.
So I
So,
was finishing up as I stepped in,
ooh,
but I
child.
still made time for them. I don't care if I had to stay up all night to write
Mm.
a paper, and it's just and sleep
And
on
I felt
fumes.
bad trying to schedule family time, and he's got a paper to write. I'm like, are you sure it's okay? And he's like, no, we can do it. And while we're out, he's like, oh, I gotta read. I'm like, you know what? Let's just go back home because, and I knew the time would just, I knew the time would go by. I wasn't pressing him out to give us more time. We're a
Right.
hangout family, so we can be in the house and chilling, Netflix and chilling, and we're good with that. So it doesn't always have to be an outdoor event or get together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Why did you laugh, Pastor?
No, I mean, well, that's a little different for her because
Babe,
she always want to be out doing something.
that's
And
true.
so I'm the house body, but you know, she always want to be out doing something. So I always made sure I made time for that, despite because I know how
That's
she is.
good. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, that brings me to this point. How do you guys handle conflict? How do you deal with that?
I'll say co- communication is the best thing for me. I can never leave from that, and also of course because we are Christians, you know, we always have to chime in the Lord, and as we're going through it, and then also uh, I just lost my thought real quick. Communication, and oh, this is it. Also, sometimes giving each other space.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that is key. But this is the problem I have sometimes. We used to do this a lot though. We'll give each other space, and then we don't bring we don't bring the information back up into the conversation. We act like everything cool.
It's like table it, and then we never come back to the table.
We done cooled off and everything, and then the next time it come around is more fire added. You know, so you definitely conversation, and if we need to give each other space.
Mm-hmm. And I think over the years we've kind of learned each other's temperaments, and so I know I can push this button, but do I purpose to push this button? I do not, babe.
Oh, I forget you can see me.
I don't push your button. I push your button.
You do.
Don't be a fool. I'm thinking I'm
It's not a negative, not bad stuff. Like, you know, certain things, you know, I'm not tripping off. I don't care too much for. She still try to do it.
But it's playful. It's not
it is, yeah, that's true.
So I don't really be trying to.
No, not negative.
Right, no. It's real conflict. That's what we're talking about. Real conflict.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes.
Come on, really, baby. like he knows he can annoy me, but we've known each other for so long. I think I've learned him to the point where we very rarely we've never had, I'm not gonna say never.
Yeah, if I feel like I'm getting under her skin, I know I'll back off.
Right.
I'll back off quick and just kind of chill, you know, and everything. You know, if I hear something come out a little way that I don't really care for,
right,
I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna stop here, you know, because I don't want to hear that.
But we've learned to really talk to each other, not talk at each other, and I think that's really how we've even lasted this long, honestly, because, you know, I love him and I know he loves me, so our intent is never to get under each other's skin purposely, you know. So if I find that I've hit that spot, I'm coming back like, hey, you know, what's up? You good? We good? You okay? Or whatever. But we very rarely have heated conversations. I think our children can attest. They can come on the screen like, I remember when my mom and dad argued, you know, or
that's
had
amazing
moments. Yeah. So we've learned to
and even in those conflicts, like I'm not leaving my bedroom.
Right.
She's not leaving that bedroom.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so even we've had times, man, we'd be talking all night to try to get to the end. But because we weren't going to sleep like that.
Yeah.
You know, and she ain't always like it. but
they call it pillow talk.
Yeah, we just had to calm down, but we had to bring it back to the table because I'm not leaving my bed. I'm not sleeping nowhere else.
Right,
you know?
right.
And that's just how we kind of roll with it. And we had to continue to just talk to we may have to. We had some moments where we had to agree to disagree.
Yep.
Honestly, and just had to pray that the Lord will win the battle.
Yes.
And will grow us up in those situations.
Gotcha. So do you really think so? You said that it evolved or you gotten to this point to where you learned each other's temperaments. So are you saying that what it looks like to learn each other's temperaments is talking all night long? That's how you learn each other's temperaments?
Pay attention to your spouse. I mean, those midnight 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning. Conversations weren't all the time.
Yeah, but
So,
those were dealing with conflicts.
Yeah, those were like heated conflicts.
That
So
we had to try to get to the bottom of.
Right. And so I'm an observer. I just get it. It's God gave me something, a gift to pay attention to people, particularly my husband. So I know him like almost like a book, and I know him like a book. You don't even want to say it. I know him like a book. And so you know, I've learned to pay attention to the things that he likes, the things that he don't like, and you know, so I think that's so key in a relationship to walk and be in a relationship with both eyes open, your ears, hear what they say, hear how they talk, watch what they do, and see how they respond. And so I've taken notes, mental notes over the years on how and what my husband likes, what he doesn't like, what makes him happy, and some things that don't put him in a great place. And you know, I've learned to pay attention, and I think that's super important when it comes to moments of conflict.
And learn what not to say.
Yeah,
because you can say some stuff that you cannot take back.
Yes,
you're
and
right.
We've been there, and so it's you get to a point where you just like I got to live with this person. You know, it's not like I can just don't go home with them. I got to live with them, and so you try to not say stuff that you know is going to be damaging after a while. After a while, you really try to curtail your saying. And if you know, I just need a moment, you know. And so I think that's one of the things, even because it's going to be conflict, but you shouldn't be tearing each other down in those conflicts.
Right.
If your aim is
like
not
going
to
for the jugular.
Yeah, if your aim is not to really help each other, raise each other up, then at moments where you really don't know what to say or can't say, don't say anything. But you got to say something at some point to bring it all together.
Yeah, 100%. I know there's times when um I've been in heated discussions, not just with my husband, with people in my family. Sometimes my children, and my children are getting older. My oldest will be 18 in a couple of weeks. And I have found myself being in a position where I've been so angry with him that I said that I was going to come back and talk to him later, only for time to have passed. And I don't really want to bring back up
Rehash
what,
it. Right.
it's like, I feel like if I go back to talk about it, it's almost no point. The time has passed, and what I'm working on is asking God to give me wisdom on how to approach him, because he's so soft spoken, and I don't want to damage him. He's very soft spoken, very soft spoken. So I don't want to damage him and make him feel like he has to be the type of man growing into a man that takes a woman like just like picking at him and yelling at him, and then at some point the way he finally expresses himself is when he can't take it anymore, and then he lashes out, and then he explodes. So I'm learning how to handle him in the appropriate manner when dealing with him, because some things, everything you just don't have to say. I'm really, really learning that, for God to teach me, because I have 2 boys. I'm the only girl in the house. So I feel like sometimes I have to exert myself and exert my opinion, because they're not hearing what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody's listening.
Like that too. I'm the only man in the house.
It works both ways. I'm telling you. So, but everything is really not that important, you know? So I'm trying to find that. It's so important to find that balance. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Makes a lot of sense. It does. Absolutely.
I mean, and I think it's definitely for a relationship, when you are hurting, you have to find ways to really deal with that so that you don't get hurt again.
Right.
especially
Yeah.
you have to find ways to deal with that. And I think, I don't know if this is a woman thing. I don't know. I don't know, but that
Watch it.
can poke a little bit, and
Hmm.
in a sense, and
Uh,
kind of,
yeah.
I mean, because she would poke a little bit, you know, and then
Yeah,
you
it's
have,
possible.
and it's almost trying to save her, like the woman's intuition of trying to save the guy from falling into something or doing something, or that has not even happened yet, and I got this vision and I see this. But when it comes to us,
No.
no, but when it comes to us, it's almost looking like we did something wrong.
Oh, I see.
Because we're getting the hit. It's like we
like
did
it already happened.
Yeah, like we did it wrong, and it doesn't sound preventive. It doesn't sound. It sounds accusative in a sense. Because it gets because the tone of what comes with it. You know what I mean? And so
Gotcha.
I've kind of been in that. We've kind of, yeah.
I got you. I got 100% what you're saying. Herein lies. I'm not just gonna say for men, because I think that it's even deeper when you're in ministry. That for some reason, I don't know what it is, but like women just love men in ministry. And I have no idea why, because if you really had someone in ministry, you'd be like running the other way, because it's not as exciting as you think that it is.
Right.
But
Right.
but I think that like sometimes people are literally sent on assignment
Right.
to insert themselves and to cause friction and havoc. And I have been in similar situations where I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, she didn't speak to me, but she sure enough just slam walked past me and spoke to you. Like she has literally knocked me over
to get to
to
you
come
to
speak to you
right.
during offering time.
Right.
Like, well, hello.
And I'm right
Then
next
he's
to
like,
you.
well, what you want me to do? Like, what I'm supposed to do?
Right.
Tap her and say, hey, you missed my wife. That's all
Right.
you got to do. And he's like, well, really? Yes, I'm here to you.
Really?
There's some things that if you shut them down, like I think that we don't want to create
Yeah.
tension, or
Right.
you don't want to be the bad person. And it's not that I'm saying that you did anything wrong, but there are
Right.
some ways that men can shut women down and all their craziness, and it would be
Yeah.
over with. I promise
Over.
you, it would be
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
You know?
I agree with that. And the way you put it was really nice.
Yeah.
Like hey, it's my wife. Say hello to her.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
And
I mean, that was just an example. I'm not saying
No,
that that's
But
what
I
it
mean, the way
is.
you said that, the way you did it was pretty cool.
Mm.
You painted the picture a little better than I did. Thank you, Picasso. I appreciate it.
It's so funny.
Thank you.
You're too funny. Well, listen to this. Help me with this part. Well, not help me, but I want you to help everyone who is listening. Um, tell them, give them some advice when it comes to dealing with your children, and how do you handle bringing children up or rearing children up in the body of Christ. A lot of times we give children nowadays a choice, whether they want to come to church, whether they want to participate. And when I was growing up, I did not have a choice whether I wanted
No.
to participate or not participate. I was a part of everything and had to be there. So you mentioned that you have a few children. So what is your perspective on bringing your children up in ministry along with you guys?
Um, for us, it's just been automatic. Like we don't we haven't gotten to the point where we have had to have conversation about whether they want to or not. It's just been who we are. And I think most of it too, and what we try to do is
create balance.
Yeah,
We've
create balance
balance.
and have do a lot of things that they enjoy to do,
that they like
you
to
know.
engage in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we try to also try to be the same at home that we are at church. So it wouldn't be like, seem like something wrong with church,
Right.
in a sense. And so that's what we pretty much have been. And our girls will be 17 this year.
Yeah.
And
they love going to church.
Yeah, they never, they never, I hope it doesn't
I know.
but they've never raised raised any question like, can I stay home today, type of thing, so we've never had that conversation. It's just been something that we do, and I think we've been also very open with how we feel about church,
right?
And when we have moments where we talk about it, like man, or certain things we don't really care for as far as they're concerned. And I ask them questions about how they feel about certain things as far as church is concerned.
And we've had to have hard conversations about our beliefs because the world that they are a part of now, it's everything, everybody, and it's like we've had to pause a movie that we were watching because something came on the screen and oh, how do you feel about that? Turned into almost a 2-hour conversation.
Wow.
And so and being raised in ministry, I was raised in a world where you couldn't do any extracurricular activities. You had to go to church Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sometimes Saturday, 3 times on Sunday. And I couldn't do anything and I couldn't be a part of anything. And so where my husband, not being raised in church, we brought that balance in. But because I was so scarred from how I was raised in ministry and now realizing that does not give you a closer relationship with God being in church 7 days a week, I wanted my children to experience high school, different events at high school, and participate in extracurricular activities.
If you like, they want to go to.
Yeah.
So, go to the talent show. I couldn't go to those things. And they come home, still love Jesus, still respect this home. And I think us being examples, we're living examples for them. They know that mommy and daddy don't play about God. We love our ministry. We love church. So it's not we
still have fun.
Yes. And it's not a struggle. We go on vacations. I never went on a vacation, child. So
exactly.
Those are the things that we've implemented. And I think balance, if I could put it in one word.
Yeah, we don't church.
Yeah, we've created balance. Come on.
We're not services of his we're not. That's not what we've been doing.
So even during the pandemic, when because we never stopped because we were on a praise team, we had to keep things going. They would come with us and they would wake up. Are we going to church today? I'm like, yeah. They'd be like, yay. So that was like music to my ears because we are living in a culture where children have so many of their own choices they get to make, and
so many questions too.
And I thank God that our girls still allow us to guide them. And I think that's really important. I love them for that. And I just thank God that we haven't had any issues, thank God, but they're great kids and they love the Lord. So
and schools are, as you know, are pushing a different agenda.
Yeah.
And so
absolutely
our young people are affected by that. And so they see things now. And so now they have questions about so many things, But yeah, we've been blessed, I must say, with the girls. We've been truly blessed.
And our son was raised in ministry as well. But he went to college and moved to California.
Went to college and moved to
California. And I think we can still kind of have some conversations about God. He's still, still there. Yeah. So
his music has taken him to different places,
right?
And
which is understandable.
Music taking him different places, but at the same token, he can come back and know he knows right.
Yeah.
And it's still in him. He gonna be back with us soon.
Yes, he is. In the name of Jesus.
That's all right. I'll just make mention. I remember seeing a clip of y'all and your whole entire family, all generations were shouting. And I was like, that is so
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
Mhm.
It was so
Yeah,
beautiful.
Oh, listen, that
So,
thing
so
that messed
still.
me up.
beautiful.
I'm
Hmm.
still every time I look at the video, I'm very full from because they play around in the house and they gotta dance. I'm like, you better stop playing with God. And
Hmm.
they that was the first Sunday I think they exercised their expression of praise. And I'm
Mm.
telling you, the
Without just crying.
without just crying.
Yeah.
And they danced with mommy and daddy, and the prophecy came over the pulpit, and I went into a praise, and I felt somebody on my right. I was like, who was that? And I saw it was my daughter, and I just it was it. That was it. That was done. I was done. Hubby came down, the other daughter came down, and so it was my mom. So it was just,
Hmm.
yeah, God was just lining it up and saying, y'all gonna be all right.
Yeah. It was
That's a
beautiful.
good one. You
Absolutely
brought that back
beautiful.
up. Just had me thinking all over again.
Right, right, right.
Don't start nothing.
Don't start nothing.
So I just want to tell you guys this has been absolutely amazing. You guys have been wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So let's end with one more question.
Okay.
And I want to know, well, I want to do two more because I want to ask you two things. The first question is, how has your spouse made you a better person?
Well, I could say she's made me a better person, uh, uh, more committed. I believe her and just certain things I didn't like about her. Questions she would ask, and just got on my nerves. But when I really think about it, she saved me from a whole lot of craziness. Just her detective work and all with all that she does, but she saved me from a whole lot, really a whole lot. And when I look back over my life, I really thank God for that part, that I really didn't quite understand, and the frustration about how always checking in type of stuff. Everybody else is not doing it, but that's kind of where I really thank God for her in that. And she's been a great support. I mean, as far as pushing me, um, uh, lifting me up, even times when I didn't think I was adequate, and she just always was a pusher for me. So I appreciate that.
Yes, Miss
Uh,
Roy, go ahead.
yeah. I'm a lot, as he has eloquently stated a little bit. Um, but he is my real life Superman, and he has taught me how to be patient, how to really fully forgive, the true meaning of forgiveness. He's taught me how to love no matter what, because I had once upon a time. And he would come like, you gotta read the book of Proverbs. I'm like, ain't nobody read no book of Proverbs. But because he just fell in love with the book of Proverbs. So, different things about love and marriage and relationships. I think he pulled some tickets out of there. But if I had to pull two words, it's forgiveness and patience. He taught me how to be patient, because I wanted everything now. I wanted to happen
Mm,
yesterday. And he was like, just wait, it's going to happen. And, I think sometimes we look at each other and we may have expressed it, feels like we're a little behind the time,
mhm,
like we should be a little ahead, more ahead than
mhm.
where we are now. But it's something about God's timing, because
Yeah.
had we been in this place maybe 10, 15 years ago, we probably wouldn't have
Mhm,
made it. We weren't ready.
mm.
And God
Yeah.
allowed us some time to heal. God allowed us some time to grow, not just individually, but collectively.
Yeah.
We learned how to
Mm.
grow with each other. And so that's, yeah,
That's beautiful.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, tell us this. This is our final question. So
Okay.
I know that people have really gleaned a lot from what you have said. I have as well. So answer this, and I'll give you some time to think about it. Give 3 words you would say to your younger self before you got married.
Uh,
Oh, I missed
Three
that one.
words.
um, that was hard. Now I have a sentence, a partial
She
of a
said three
sentence.
words.
Well, 3 words.
Three
My
words.
3 words are trust the process. That's my 3 words.
Okay.
Hey, yeah.
Okay.
Trust the process because you know, like I stated, I need to know now, like what's happening. I'm a proactive thinker. I like to plan and I don't like to wait. I did not like to wait. I'm gonna say that's not me now. I've learned a lot of patience, but trust the process. In the beginning of our marriage, he was like, I'm not quite there yet, career wise. Can you wait? And I'm like, yo, how long are we talking about waiting? And God was like, just slow down. It's gonna be what I've called it to be. And I'm still learning to trust the process in this marriage. And I can say it's been an amazing ride. It has been. I mean, even with the highs and the lows, I still choose him over again.
Oh, that's amazing. So beautiful.
It's my boo. I love this man.
Oh, Pastor.
um, I think I looked at that wrong. The 3 words, but um, what I would, I've heard this. Like, what would you say to your younger self?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, and I had something. And I didn't write it down like my wife, but I was thinking in terms of what I would say to my younger self is that you're going to win. You know, um,
Mm.
you're going to win because coming up with the way I came up and where I come from,
Mhm. Mhm.
a lot of uh,
He's not supposed to be here.
yeah, a lot of
If the
things.
statistics were to play
Yeah,
out the way they
Yeah.
had it,
Yeah.
then he was not
yeah.
supposed to be
Uh-huh.
sitting.
Shouldn't be a homeowner and stuff like that. I shouldn't be living like I'm living. So, um,
Yeah.
you know, I would say to myself, like to kind of ease my anxiety,
You're gonna win.
and all that I was, all that was going on within me. I had the hopes, but hopes without really believing it's going to materialize. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You will win.
Mhm.
So I
Win.
don't know. Is that one word, 3 words? I
3.
don't know.
You will win. 1, 2, 3.
That's what I
Uh-huh.
said. Well, I
Uh-huh.
believe
Yeah,
you.
you just
You
said you
win.
gonna win. You got
Yeah.
it. You got
Win
it.
You
person. Okay.
are, yeah, gonna win. Yeah.
Okay.
You gonna win. You guys have been fantastic. I love
Oh,
you
thank
all. Thank
you.
you
Thank
so
you so much
much.
for having
Thank
us.
you.
This was
Thank
fun.
you. Yes. This
Fun.
has been amazing. So, until next time, this has been Ladies Takeover Empowerment Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.